Alright, we're in the top right hand corner here on 2000 atmospheres, where the red Protoss player is currently spawning. Makes a noise for showtime!
And spawning here at the bottom left, we have our blue Zerg player from Team Clash. Give it up for Raynor. Alright, so 2000 atmosphere LE. Akontistes, I want to know, like, what do you think of this map? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What's happening here?
I absolutely love this map actually. It's one of the most unique maps we've had in quite a while, honestly. Like, the map layout is kind of weird. It remembers me of Thunderbird in a way. I don't know if you remember the map. And then the two watchtowers are such a huge game changer into such strategic positions, with those rocks blocking basically every single pathway that wasn't covered by the two watchtowers. It's really good to be very map aware in a way on this map, since the two watchtowers are such huge game changers. And then it's still a macro map. Like, getting on 4 bases is not really too complicated, but above that number, it really starts to get very crazy, very fast. Absolutely love this map.
Yeah, same here. I do love this map. Just for the sheer, like you mentioned, the watchtower. I feel like that's been kind of a lost art. In the past few seasons, it seems like, you know, there's maps with little to no watchtowers, and I really love that aspect of the watchtower from the old days. And so I'm really glad to see it, you know, being reinstated here on this map.
Yeah, all three, the new maps, they're all kind of great in their own unique ways. This, I feel like it's the most macro map of them all. Like, yeah, maybe Blackburn can, well, not Blackburn, back in the industry, sorry, can be kind of macro-oriented, but then again, it's one of those weird maps that's cut in two. This one is more standard, more average. It really feels like a better version of Thunderbird.
Yeah, for sure. Anyhow, looks like we have a Stargate open here coming out from our Protoss friend. We did see earlier in the game Raynor seemingly trying to do a hatchery block on the Protoss Natural, but wasn't quite able to throw it down in time. I mean, he had the minerals to do so, but I think a little bit of hesitation there, and was not able to plot it down. But Raynor's going to go ahead and lose a little bit of economy there, but this is not anything game changing or anything. He can, you know, transition smoothly out of this, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. No real problem detected for Raynor. Just the usual hatch block on his, well, probe archery block on his side of the map. Nothing too crazy, taking third. Well, actually didn't happen this game. But anyhow, what's really important right now, it's taking a look at what Showtime is about to do, because after the Stargate, it's going straight into Twilight Council tech with just one Oracle. Target straight up for safety measure, for getting a bit of scouting, a little bit of damage with this Oracle, and then going straight into Twilight Council. Do you think it's going to be Resonating Glaives?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I mean, this is one of the more common follow-ups behind Stargate, especially since you see the 4 gateways total as well. Now, this is, of course, without a Warp Prism, but I think this map is decent enough in terms of distance-wise that he should be able to shade over to the other side relatively at a decent time.
Yeah, it really makes for a good opener on a map such as this. A little bit of safety and then straight up into aggression with a third base behind it. It looks like Showtime really wants to put some pressure onto Raynor. He doesn't want himself to be out-macroed. And it really shows a development in how Showtime is starting to play a little bit more aggressively compared to what he did in the past, really.
Yeah, we have seen, you know, one of the criticisms and also praises of Showtime being more of a macro player. Doesn't really tend to open up with any cheeses or aggression. I mean, maybe like go into like a timing attack of some sort, but always great to see Showtime kind of change it up, add in some more aggressive, you know, play style to his already more macro defensive type of play style that he's already good at.
Yeah. And I love this Raynor scouting with these Zerglings. I feel like it might be too little too late though. There's not a lot of units out, and you're bound to lose a lot of workers to this. First Queen gets in the battle and transfuses, goes left and right, but it's not gonna be enough to save this base. Queens left scattering, and now Raynor with 6 queens is forced to leave this base. This was a bit of a pretentious shade from Showtime, getting just in the middle of all those queens. Not gonna take a good fight, a lot of lost mining time, but in the end, these queens can make short work. Meanwhile, Stasis Ward into the main is gonna catch so many workers. That's a lot of damage from Showtime, but I don't feel like the expense was worth the cost. Oh, right now, 8 drones actually falling one after the other. That's about to be some real damage. Queens still very high in number, and that's the most important thing, I feel. Keeping these queens alive is basically just as keeping an hatchery alive. That's how important they are. And honestly, toil workers, yeah, you're kind of behind, because Showtime kind of microed a lot behind this. But I don't feel like Raynor is dead just yet.
Alright, total 18 drones has gone down in this game thus far. And you know what? I think that might have been worth it. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's way ahead in the workers. His his army count, his army supply is relatively close to the Protoss, so one more warp and he should be able to tie up. And remember, of course, roaches do inflate some of those supplies. So all in all, I do love Showtime's position right now.
Yeah, 5 more drones caught up by his Oracle, ranking to a kill count of 7. Which is quite a lot for a single Oracle, especially considering that beautiful Stasis Word Showtime was able to do in the main. And yeah, the real problem with Raynor is that his 4th archery is incredibly late compared to what he wanted. Like, he can recover from that position, but now getting the tech he needs to get something against those Immortals and Colossi and Stalkers and everything that Showtime is adding to his army supply is going to be very complicated. That's a little bit of a turning point of the game. If Showtime is able to end the game right here, right now, like, it's possible, yes it is, but Raynor can defend some way. He's not really out of this altogether. It's just about to be a little bit more behind because this base needs to be cancelled.
Oh, that's already a win there. I mean, considering
yeah,
Raynor is still on the same amount of bases as the Protoss, that's never a good sign.
Yeah, that blame forward completely caught Raynor out of guard. Like, this is starting to get a little bit too much. Disruptors added into this. Raynor doesn't really have an answer to this. He needed to do some damage outside on the map, but he really never managed to build himself a strong enough army. Beautiful force fields covering the retreat of Showtime's army. And now there's really no single department in which Raynor is not behind compared to Showtime.
Yeah. Now remember, Showtime with that move out didn't really need to kill or end the game there. You know, all he needs to do is just, you know, of course, force the cancel, and then just sit back and then mass up those disruptor counts. Once those disruptor counts get into a optimal amount of number, he can kind of go for what would be potentially the finishing blow. It'll be very difficult for Raynor to kind of fight heads up, especially since he needs to split against those disruptor hits.
Yeah, there's no Spire, there's no Lurker Den. Raynor just doesn't have the tech to get something to fight against the army of Showtime. He's really in a desperate position right now. The game has snowballed really quickly, and Showtime has done a great job on not overextending his welcome on creep.
Yeah, the one thing that I do like is Raynor's creep. Considering how much pressure he's been put in by Showtime throughout this whole game, he has kept up relatively well with the creep spread. And this is not the easiest map to spread creep. This is a pretty wide open map, so you gotta spread those creep tumors in all different directions. So I gotta give a little bit of a praise and clap for Raynor on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, the army tech difference is just a little bit too big. Like, these Ravagers are kind of keeping Raynor alive somewhat, some way. Oh, but these disruptors are about to be massive in this battle. Here comes the two main armies clashing against each other. Queens get caught up by Purification Novas, and most of the Ravagers needs to stay behind. Blink follow up to catch some of these Queens out of position. The Ravagers are now marching forward. That's a little bit of a choke point. And that works both ways. Disruption Novas and Ravager Piles can both deal a lot of damage really quickly. Ravager Piles not really connecting, but so aren't the Purification Novas. These Immortals and Stalkers are doing their best. Guardian Shield really keeping a lot of units alive. Raynor able to keep up in supply, but this Purification Nova is just massive.
Oh
my goodness. Yeah, that was definitely a death sentence. The Raynor is getting a hive, but it doesn't really have the tech to do anything behind this. Meanwhile, a Zealot run by into the main, warped in, but is warp prism, and it's still getting more warp pins. There's really very little to fight against it, forcing Raynor behind and forcing a whole round of units to just defend back home. Showtime might have fallen behind in army supply quite a bit, but the tech he has compared to the tech that Raynor has is just outstanding. But I want you to take a look at Showtime's main base. Look at these 4 roaches burrowed just underneath this photon cannon. They will take some damage, they will force some attention away. Let's see how it works. Purification Novas will hit on a bunch of Ravagers. Meanwhile, in the main, no real damage has been dealt aside from the photon cannon falling.
Yeah, so far, Showtime kind of defending the Roach run-bys pretty decently well. But he still needs to, of course, contend with his main army here. Although, as I look at it, the bird's eye view, I mean, Showtime army is just absolutely much better in terms of quality compared to Raynor's.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, these roaches can burrow left and right, try to get some damage, try to get a wrap around. But in the end, they just do not have the firepower to match what Showtime has right now. Like, he has 3 observers right now. You cannot even randomly hope that Ravager Piles can get him. It's a desperate position. Oh, Purification Nova's going on top of Ravagers, and Ravagers alone, setting Raynor even more behind. His army has nowhere to run from, and this is a desperate attack from Raynor, getting caught by by force fields and blink forwards of Showtime. And now Raynor losing Roach after Roach, Ravager after Ravager, will try to get a little more Ravager Piles on top of that army, but he doesn't really have anything to work with. There's a fleet beacon incoming for Showtime, and with a hive, Raynor doesn't have a single outside of archery unit. Like, he never even he produced a couple of Vipers. Outside of that, it's all archery units. Not even lair units, archery units.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy, especially since we're 13 minutes and 30 seconds into this game. And here we go, a big, huge commitment here by Raynor, but I just don't see this breaking Showtime. Showtime moving forward, feeling confident, even chasing after these Ravagers here, and gonna go ahead and separate some of these Zealots to go ahead and get on top of this other Southside base.
There were a couple of good abducts by the Vipers, but in the end, like, all the key units are still in there for Showtime. He has the Archons, he has the Immortals, and like, these Ravagers are doing their best, but Blade Stalkers dodging left or right. Losing that Archon sure hurts. The army supply is in favor of Raynor, but once again, there's no tech whatsoever. Showtime could go into Mothership carrier tech whenever he wants, and Raynor doesn't even have a Spire.
Yeah, no Spire, no Hydralisk, and all he has would be Queens, and even then, I don't think that is gonna do it. I mean, he does have a lot of hatchery to produce Queens, but Queens in versus like good amount of carrier numbers, just not great. And losing another base here onto the south side, he's not gonna have the economy to power through to make enough Corruptors or Hydralisks to defend against the air tech if Showtime decides to do so. And it looks like, yeah, he 2 carriers on the production tab already.
Raynor maxed out on Roaches and Ravagers alone, and that's not the army you want at this stage of the game, especially considering the massive amount of Blink Stalkers that Showtime has just to dodge piles left and right while the main army deals the rest of the damage. It looks like Showtime has the bulk for those carriers. He just needs a little bit of time with which Raynor cannot do anything. So Raynor is basically all in on this, and there's just 1 Viper with energy out. Here comes the first abduct, catching one of the immortals. But yeah, now these carriers are out and there's nothing you can do against them. Ravagers trying to do their best to keep Showtime outside of this game. Showtime still trying to defend with all he can, buying himself enough time to hold this. You can see Raynor retreating, trying to get the blink forward. Is Showtime a little bit too pretentious of him, with Ravagers piling down on top of everything. And all Raynor needs to do is just cut backwards with his Ravagers. It's gonna take a kind of a good engagement, really. Problem is, 2 more carriers just came out. And oh my goodness, these Ravager piles are just completely whiff. And it means a couple of them are definitely going to die.
Yeah, and now Raynor, he's in a desperate situation. He's gonna actually use Infestors as his answer to these carriers. I mean, really, it's probably his best chance right now because he doesn't have a lot of sufficient solid anti-air. And so if you can get some Infestors and kind of maybe Nero Parasite, use the carriers against the Protoss army, I think that's his best option right now considering where he's at.
There's a problem with this strategy. He didn't research Nero Parasite yet. And he doesn't even have the energy upgrade for the Infestor. Raynor will lose another base. And man, like, you can see his resources, how spread thin they are. Like, he has a ton of gas and nothing to spend them on. And now he's getting these Nero Parasite upgrade. And a recall gets issued to defend against those rushes. For Showtime, Raynor might have found some way to stay in this game, but how long can he last is the real question.
That is the $1 million question right now. We do see the carrier numbers increasing by the tenfold, and I mean more Infestors coming out for Raynor. Ooh, that's like a little bit of a charge lot. Wait, did it? Was that a Warp Prism or just a run by?
Yeah. There was a Warp Prism that has right now flied away with
okay,
almost getting Warp Prism speed, but the real problem is Raynor has been behind in workers for forever, basically.
Yeah, pretty much the whole game.
Yeah, now these Infestors do not have Nero Parasite yet. They're close. Vipers will get this Parasitic Bomb on top of these carriers, but it just doesn't deal enough damage. Oh, and Storm is almost out. Like, these High Templars, with the range they have on feedback, can absolutely destroy the Spellcaster-heavy army that Raynor has built upon. And yeah, both players are maxed out. It really counts the engagements right now. I think Showtime might have been a little bit too slow to end this game, but still, Raynor's tech is just these Spellcasters. Roaches will basically do nothing against the army that Showtime has, and he's just trying to trade them with burrow attacks left and right.
Yeah, you know, Raynor's one of those players that even if you have a huge lead against him, it's just really difficult to kind of kill him outright.
Oh, blinding clouds. Oh, the feedback. Oh my goodness, he was piling down his own Infestors. That was devastating. Raynor might have killed himself after staying alive for such a huge amount of time. These Ravagers just decided that it was time to tap out. Roaches on the top side will try their best, but the game will go in favor of Showtime.
All right, we are back for game number 2 here. Showtime with a 1-0 lead. Let's see if Raynor can tie this score up. Here we go.
Here in the bottom right-hand corner, here on Blackburn, where the red Protoss is currently spawning. Can he make it 2 in a row? It is Showtime.
And spawning here at the bottom left corner of the map, he's the blue Zerg player from Italy, the home country of Italy. It is from Team Clash, Raynor.
From Bologna, if I remember correctly, but I may be wrong.
Well, we do see, of course, the early probe. Gonna go ahead and block the hatchery of Raynor. Smartly, he does take of course, the other dirt base.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this is a map with the 2 potential dirt bases. Actually, you know what? As I say that, maybe 3 potential dirt bases with that gold base. But I do like Raynor deciding to go for the further base, so that things like Colossus Push or maybe a Warp Prism Harass not gonna be as deadly if had Raynor taken the triangular base.
What was that map with the island called? Year Zero? No, Year Zero. Yeah, Year Zero was the one with Aemon. There's another one that is almost identical to this one. And yet again, this feels like a better version of that one map. This map is another incredibly unique one, with a lot of different strategies you can work upon. And it really feels like it has somewhat perfectioned this style of maps. These maps that are basically cut in two sides, the side in the bottom and the side in the left, with players spawning in bottom left and bottom right. And it's a very unique style of maps, one that I really like, but it really makes for some different and weird games. This is a weird map, make no mistake.
For sure. I mean, just the fact that it has the gold bases makes it a weird map. I think this is probably if I recall correctly, the only map on the map pool that has gold bases. If I
right now, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so just the fact that it has the gold bases makes some really weird games. Kind of also tends to lead to important decisions, whether to take that base or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And the third base in the triangular pattern, they're so close together. Like if you play a TVT and you take the map just underneath your main base, like you're basically at tank's range if you get in the middle. Like it's crazy. It really is crazy. TVT on this map is amazing. It's beautiful.
Also, you could I wonder if there's going to be a game where like one of the Terran players just like makes the command center and it just floats to the middle base there with the rocks.
I've seen one actually between Percival and Natural yesterday, so it was kind of nice. Also, the Reaper Cliff is crazy. Like there's an inhibitor zone just underneath the Reaper Cliff, and the Reaper Cliff is positioned in an incredibly unique position, just at the corner in the left. We never seen something like this. Like this map is one of the most unique we've ever seen.
Absolutely. All right, looks like first Orko is not gonna. Oh, showtime! Pay attention.
Oh.
Taking a lot too much damage on that Orko there, almost losing it.
Yeah, for absolutely free. And like with all maps that have inhibitor zones in the on the airway between the two bases, it's really hard to retreat, especially against queens that have such a long range. You can find yourself trapped very easily. Like it's almost a little bit of a bait to go Stargate. Of course, Stargate is so good, doesn't really matter. But you have to be extra careful around those inhibitor zones in the air.
Yeah, and there's really not a lot of dead airspace behind the main base there. So, yeah, it seems seemingly on the first look it might look like it's good for air, but with the inhibitor zone and the lack of dead airspace, I feel like this is not the best map for to go air toss.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of a bait.
Now, if the slow zone, the inhibitor zone were not there, that's a different story.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing, but of course they are there. Like, it reminds me of yet another map. Actually, two maps that had a same idea that was just a little bit worse, especially with the golden base positioning. These maps, golden base, like right now, Raynor is taking this base. It's very risky. Thankfully, he has spread creep in a very excellent way. He's covering every single path. But he has to face yet again Resonating Glaives. And it's not gonna be easy if he doesn't get a scout right here, right now.
Oh, these two adepts will get surrounded here. Gets taken out. And there's really not a lot to defend this dirt base here. Oh, might Showtime lose this one. There's a lot of lings coming across the map. Oh boy.
Oh. Showtime is hiding his adepts. He didn't really hide them. Yeah, he needs to force a recall right now. What is he recalling? An Oracle? Oh yeah, he lost Raynor lost way too many links. He's gonna be in trouble against these adepts. Adepts are gonna catch these Zerglings on the inhibitor zones. Beautiful play by Showtime. Oh my goodness, but the Queens are trapping the adepts yet again. Evolution Chamber block doesn't work. The adepts have made their way into the natural, and they're striking at Queens and drones alike. Now the shade will go into the main, and more drones are bound to die. Raynor might have done the same mistake twice, with Showtime being extremely proficient in this build. Like, I've seen Zest do great with this build, but Showtime is on a whole other level. This is perfect defense, and now he's getting so much damage. 11 drones have been fallen, so many links have been killed, but this time Raynor has so many queens.
Yeah, I might think that Showtime might want to go ahead and just recall right now with those remaining adepts.
Recall is on cooldown.
Right, that's true. He just recalled his Oracle. Oh, okay. Yeah, losing all those adepts. That is horrible for Showtime.
That was a little bit of a misplay on his side, but still, he's in a fairly decent position. Like, yet again, it's just a lot of queens and zerglings, and now Blink is halfway through. There's a robo incoming. Showtime safely filling his third base with workers. It's not gonna be easy. Oh, a beautiful attack here by Raynor, but the force fields are crazy good. Look at these force fields. My goodness. Showtime, perfect defense, and slow banelings are just not gonna cut it.
Man, that was some beautiful force field. That kind of reminds me back in the Wings of Liberty days where good force fields placements were considered like absolutely great micro. Nowadays, like after years of getting used to force field, like force field not like as impressive back in the Wings of Liberty days.
Yeah. The same can be said about a lot of things in StarCraft. Really, like Starter Step was a lot more praised back in the day. Right now, it's just standard, really. Oh, Blink is almost done. This might be deadly for this golden base.
Let's see if Raynor can kind of set up a surround here if he wants to.
Showtime is being careful about this though. Stasis board on the back. Oh, Raynor doesn't care. He wants to strike, but these Zerglings are too few in numbers to actually do anything. Oh, yeah, the base is gonna go down. Beautiful play by Showtime.
Yeah, I mean, considering Raynor doesn't have a Baneling speed yet, I think it's just smarter choice to just let it sacrifice it. I mean, he's already up in bases, so he doesn't really need it.
I love the double expand by Raynor. I don't really like Showtime not getting another base. Beautiful force fields here are gonna catch so many units outside of this range of the Stalkers. Again, Showtime taking a huge trade, but the Queens are just so high in number. Like, they perma-transfusing everything they get on. And now Baneling speed is done. The Banelings come rolling through. They will get on top of the sentries and will get a lot of kills. Raynor's army supply is not very high. That's a lot of stasis boards spread on the map. And here comes the rest of the lanes that were caught in one of the stasis boards and will just get slaughtered. Oh, another beautiful double stasis board will catch so many units out of Raynor. But Showtime still has to establish a fourth base. That might be a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, it might be. He's kind of relying on this attack to do much more damage than he's actually getting right now. Nice force field once again, but actually does force Raynor to retreat for the time being. But Showtime's working off of a sentry and stalkers. That is not a great unit composition or army composition generally against Zerg. You need to be like high in sentry and stalkers, overwhelmingly in terms of the numbers to make it work. But with the Lings and Banelings, and right now seems like Raynor is going to be upgrade or attacking up with his upgrades. I just don't see this Stalker Sentry composition working out too very long. Yeah.
Fallback plan, of course, is Colossi, two of them being produced at the same time, as well as Extender Thermal Lens almost halfway through. But Raynor is ranking up to very high numbers of this army composition. Like right now, the Banelings amount is getting a little bit out of control. And as you've been saying, like there's not a lot of force fields to work with for Showtime.
Oh, there we go. Finally, some type of tech. The Colossus. Showtime has been working up to that, but he's got to be careful. He does not have thermal lance quite yet finished, but he is going to go ahead and park himself behind this gold base once again, and you can see why this gold base is so tricky to take.
Yeah, absolutely agree, my friend. Like right now, Raynor might have done another huge mistake. This base will go down, getting a wraparound. The Oracle was way too far away. No stasis board. This time might be deadly. That's a lot of force fields available right now. Many sentries have been made by Showtime to make for this. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, though, Raynor is getting devastating damage. So many workers falling left and right. His banelings and links run by, dealing so much damage. Another beautiful run of force fields from Showtime in his main attack. And now it's just basically queens against the army of Showtime. Losing 38 workers, man, that hurts.
Yeah, that is a tough order. I mean, he is down 83 to 47 workers. The big, huge Colossus ball across the map is lacking a lot of sentry. He's just warped in a few sentries, but those sentries only have one force field each. And here we go, Raynor feeling confident to roll on in, and he is not wrong. There is a lack of force field, and these banelings are going to top up these stalkers.
That's so much damage dealt by Raynor. He's already replenishing his army. He's getting adrenaline glands. He's getting an Ultralisk Cavern. Oh, Showtime is so starved in gas right now. He's not really been collecting any gas whatsoever after making so many sentries. And now this bowl of queens is just... It looks impossible to kill for Showtime, really. He needs to do something, but it's almost impossible without +3 to deal the damage he wants to deal. This base will be sacked, but Raynor can take this loss with the tech he has.
Yeah, what really Showtime need at this moment is those disruptors to kind of get on top of those queens, but right now he is just working off of the Colossus tech here, and oh, even recalling, oh man, misrecalling, leaving some of his army to die and be left strangled behind.
Leaving an immortal behind sure does hurt. +3 almost done for Showtime. That might be the redeeming factor in this match. But Raynor is looking for blood right now. He's smelling blood in the air. He's trying to get something done. And look at these banelings already making their way to the golden base. Blinkstalkers trying to catch them. But I doubt they will be there in time. Oh, another baneling run by over here. They will be caught by some Blinkstalkers. Oh, beautiful blink over here by Showtime. Beautiful defense, as always, for this Protoss player. But Raynor bought himself even more time to get a bunch of Ultras out. And there's no counter out for Showtime.
Yeah, there's no Immortals. There's only one Void Ray, and one Void Ray is not going to take down all those Ultralisks. So once the Ultralisks join the fight, it's going to be really difficult. Unless Showtime can mass up enough Immortals in time, or maybe get a sick wall that will block out those fat Ultralisks, which I just don't see this happening, especially since the map is quite wide open here.
Oh, and Raynor is taking yet another huge run by over here, forcing a lot of APM out of Showtime and a lot of lost mining time as well. Raynor just outsmarting Showtime after a very tricky early game. And he's now on a huge army supply with very strong units against Showtime, who doesn't really have what it takes. He has a lot of DPS on his army, but so does these Ultras.
Alright, another attempted run by here on the top side, but Showtime will be able to catch it off. Oh, it looks like a nice little Warp Prism drop here. There's actually no Overlords in the middle, which I would assume that Raynor might want to go ahead and place there to spot any incoming Warp Prism harass. But once again, Raynor being so consistent with these Ling run bys, getting some more additional damage here.
The Ultras are still getting a lot of damage to the main army, kept alive by the Queens. Now the Queens are marching forward, transfusing these Ultras on a repeat. And man, they might not be very fast, but they sure hurt a lot. The army of Showtime is left scattering. Right now, the army supply is devastating in favor of Raynor, and so many workers have still been killed by the blue Zerg. Showtime working with a 60 supply disadvantage. He's finally making some Immortals out, but man, that's a lot of Ultras.
And that's a lot of Queens as well for Transfuse. So even if he didn't have a lot of Ultralisks, those Ultralisks is going to be repaired or transfused time after time. And here we go. What might potentially be the last stand here for Showtime.
Yeah, Ultras making their way forward. The Queens are a little bit far away, so these Ultras are actually taking a lot of damage for free. Queens will get closer to get those transfuses up. And now the Immortals finally make their way, trying to deal with these Ultras. And you can see Immortals with +3 melt through Ultralisk. There's so many Queens out there still. Transfuses on repeat. And the army of Showtime just doesn't feel strong enough right now. Ultras kept alive forever by Raynor, so many of them making their way through the map. They're just steamrolling through Showtime currently. The Queens might not have a lot of energy, but they will surely back up this army supply with a lot of firepower themselves. Immortals doing their best. The Ultras are falling one after the other, but the Queens are still up there standing. More lanes sent through the map. That's not a lot of transfuses up. This Colossus is ranking up some serious kills. 77 on this guy, and the Queens will be cleared, but at what cost? 29 more workers falling for Showtime. And it's a 76 worker supply against 33.
Alright, if there was one more shot, Showtime, excuse me, will have to take it, although just from the looks of it, he's not having the largest amount of army there. And still Ultralisk, not a lot of answer for these. And here we go, one more last skirmish I suspect, and Showtime is going to concede and GG out. Raynor will tie up the series.
The score is tied. And these two guys are looking to end the series here on Oxide. We're in the top right hand corner where the Red Protoss is currently spawning. It is Showtime.
And spawning here at the bottom left, playing for Team Clash, looking to take a 2-1 victory. Can he do it? It is the Blue Zerg Raynor.
Taking a natural in his natural. That's an achievement.
Yeah, it kind of seems like this has become a rare commodity of being able to take your natural with so many Protosses sending their early probes to block that hatchery.
Yeah, it really is a luxury. But it looks like Showtime doesn't really care about that the kind of play. Which is actually pretty weird. Like, there's very little reason not to, honestly. I always thought this.
Yeah. Maybe it's because Oxide is not the shortest map in the out of the map pools. It takes a little bit longer for the probes to go out. So I think Showtime thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe on a different map I would block, but on this map, I'm just gonna go ahead and just allow you to take that hatchery there.
Yeah, and Raynor is also one of those players who really loves to get the hatchery block on the other side of the map. So maybe Showtime was a little bit more focused on stopping that from happening, even though Raynor didn't make any attempt to.
Alright, so the past 2 games we have seen Showtime open up with Stargate into Glaive Adepts. Do you think we're going to see the same thing, or you think Showtime's going to actually change it up here?
I'm not too confident to make any prediction at this stage. Like, the Stargate is basically a given, especially on Oxide. It's just that good. Getting a Void Ray for defensive measures or getting something on the map, it's always pretty nice. And we see Showtime actually opening with an Adept, not a Stalker. Of course, that's mainly for vision, but if he follows that with another Adept, maybe we will see Resonating Glaze again. Oh, here it comes. Second Adept. No Stalker. No Sentry.
It might be that Glaive Adepts that you were talking about. Seems very much so. We should see the Twilight Council being plotted down as soon as, like, right after the first Oracle or Void Ray, it seems like.
Void Ray, yeah. Yeah, it's basically the same. Like, Void Rays and Oracles basically do the same thing. They get yourself some map control. Void Rays are better if you skip the Stalker, because you can just kill the Overload. And it's so good for defense. You can get something through the map if you want to. It's basically just like the Viking in CBT, right? You kind of need the Viking to stop your opponent from getting too much scouting information. It just gets you map control. Just one straight Viking gets you map control. It's a little bit better than the Liberator. And the same thing can be said between Void Ray and Oracle. It's kind of the same. Void Ray for map control and stopping the Overlord, Oracle for getting damage, and the same can be said for Liberator, like the Oracle, and Viking like the Void Ray.
All right, so far a second Stargate, not a Twilight Council. So it seems like Showtime gonna be going ahead and making some massive Void Rays, and I quite like it actually.
Yeah, me too. Especially on this map, like area units are very good on Oxide, and this mass Void Ray style has been proven time and time again. It is very worth it.
Yeah, now the most effective counter that I've seen from Zerg against this is the Queen Roach Ravager push, timing push, that they just walk across the map, and it forces the Protoss to throw down a bunch of cannons and shield batteries to defend. And then on the map like this, where there's a long rush distance, or not rush distance, long distance between the natural and the dirt, it forces the Protoss to have to decide which base he wants to shore up his defenses at, and it makes it a very tricky defense. Sometimes I wonder if Showtime should just build at the middle, but then if it's a little bit too far from the dirt, and so it makes it pretty difficult to hold on. So we'll see if Raynor decides to go for that strategy.
Yeah, it's one of the aces up the sleeve of Raynor, really. That and get into lurkers as fast as possible. Those are the two possibilities that you can go from in this scenario. And the real strength for Raynor is that you can equally expect both of them. You cannot really count any of those two strats out. He can easily rush you, or he can easily macro it up to a late game army. So you have to be very careful around the player such as Raynor. He is the world champion. Like, you all know how strong he is, and Showtime needs to do his best to keep it up with scouting information.
All right, Raynor will have eyes on these this Void Ray opening. Let's see what his response is. Seems like he's throwing down the infestation pit here.
I like it a lot, actually. Trying to go to Hive as fast as possible is one of my favorite styles between the Zerg players. This might be for Swarmos too. Swarmos are very good against Stargate. But Showtime already getting a Templar Archive, and I don't really feel like Raynor should do that. Even though he doesn't have a 4th base yet. So I think it's going to be some kind of Swarmos play, really.
Yeah. The other common, I guess, response that I've seen from Zerg is going for a Swarm Host, and then followed up by the a bit later, delayed Roach Ravager and Mass Queen move out there. The thing is, usually the Protoss will spread their Void Ray across the outskirts of his bases to make sure that there is no Nidus Swarm for those Swarm Hosts to pop out of. And so we might see Showtime, start parking his Void Ray at the outskirts of his bases, or he might just go ahead and just stick with these Void Rays as an offensive measure. But it doesn't look like Showtime is committed to these mass Void Rays. It only stopped at 4. So I do think that he does have a better, I guess, preparation against what Raynor is going for. I mean, he has more ground units than compared to a Protoss that is going really committed to Sky Toss. We of course seen past games where the Protoss go for like maybe 8 or more Void Rays, but this is not the case.
Yeah, it's a unique way to decide to play the matchup. Like, that's a lot of Archons already out, a lot of shield batteries left and right. It's a very defensive style, and it might work because Raynor does not have Nidus Network. He completely skipped that, so he's just working with his Swarmos around and trying to fight with the main army alongside the Swarmos. Like, right now there's so many shield batteries. Shield battery overcharge gets used. And as you can see, like, Raynor is not getting basically any damage. Shield battery overcharge, helping a ton. But this is still a massive army on the side of Raynor. Like, even without the Locusts, this is a hard army to match.
Alright, looks like Disruptor is being added into this army composition as well. Now, of course the Disruptors will be good against everything that Raynor has, against the Queens, against the Swarm Host, against the Roach and Ravagers. I've seen, of course, Disruptors shoot their ball at the Locust But we'll see how this goes here. That's a lot of Zerg though.
Yeah, oh, that's a beautiful purification nova. We'll get a bunch of Ravagers and Queens alive, but those Wormholes just sending so many free units through. And look at these Queens, they're keeping everything alive. Nothing is falling for Raynor, and Purification Nova is on cooldown right now. This Disruptor has 7 health, he can easily be sniped down. And right now Raynor is making his way past everything. Another beautiful Purification Nova will get a lot of units, but Raynor is still very safely in control of this game. Purification Nova number 2 will not connect, it seems. Another Purification Nova is coming, and this one will definitely connect. Swarmos almost out of cooldown. Here comes the Locust Wave, and this will get a lot of damage. Now it's Immortals fighting against Queens, not the greatest fight you can take. Meanwhile, the Locust following down Workers and Disruptors alike. There's one Void Ray left standing, kept alive by one of those shield batteries. Raynor's supply is outstanding, but it's very much inflated by Swarmos and Roaches. Meanwhile, all of the Queens have fallen, and these Purification Novas have bought a lot of time for Showtime, but it's not enough ground army for the Protoss player to work with, and Raynor will get the series.